Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Savannah Chrisley livid after injustice, vows to fight back. Savannah Chrisley is livid after her mother's sentencing hearing. She claims it is an injustice, and promises to fight back. Fans cannot believe what happened. However, Savannah is not going to give up when it comes to getting her parents home as soon as possible. Keep reading to find out more about her plans. Julie Chrisley sentencing hearing. Julie Chrisley was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. This was for tax evasion and fraud. However, they did not find enough evidence to let the charges stick, so they had a sentencing hearing. Julie took the time to apologize to the court and to her children. Savannah and Chase Chrisley attended the hearing in person. However, Julie ended up getting the same amount of time in prison. She has already served 20 months. This means she has around 5 years left in prison. Julie broke down in tears in the courtroom. This was emotional for Julie and all of her children. Savannah is currently the legal guardian of Grayson and Chloe Chrisley. Savannah Chrisley is livid. The Chrisley daughter is not happy about the sentencing. She made sure to let people know her feelings and what her plans for the future were. Savannah is not afraid to fight for her mother and her freedom. She wants to get her home as soon as possible. However, it may be hard to get her at another sentencing after she already had one. Fans were shocked to hear that Julie received the same amount of time as before. People expected her to at least get a little time taken off, maybe even for good behavior. However, that was not the case whatsoever. It seems as though Savannah has all the plans to appeal this hearing. She is not happy with the outcome. Neither is Julie, as she broke into tears after hearing she received the same sentencing as before. She apologized to the court and to her children. It was an emotional time for them all. Savannah Chrisley sat in her living room, scrolling through the social media feeds, her jaw clenched tightly. The news had broken just minutes ago, and already every tabloid and entertainment outlet had picked it up, spinning the story in every direction possible. She couldn't believe it. Another setback for her family. Another so-called justice that felt more like an injustice in her eyes. Her family had been through enough already: court cases, betrayals, the incessant barrage of media judgment, and now it seemed like they were being dragged back into the spotlight in the worst way possible. Savannah was livid, her anger simmering just beneath the surface. She stood up, pacing the room as she considered her options. She thought about her family's struggles over the past few years, the court cases, the harsh sentences, and the pain that each member had endured. It had been one thing after another for the Chrisleys, and Savannah had watched her father and mother go through it all with as much grace and resilience as they could muster. But today her patience had run out. She picked up her phone, her thumb hovering over the screen. Part of her wanted to go live on social media, to tell the world exactly what was on her mind, but she knew that would be reckless. The world didn't need another soundbite to twist against her. She was smarter than that. Savannah took a deep breath, steadying herself. If there was one thing she had learned from watching her family endure this storm, it was the value of resilience. But even the strongest among them needed a moment to feel their anger. And tonight, Savannah wasn't going to hold back. She decided to call her grandmother, Nanny Faye, who had always been a rock for her family. Nanny Faye had faced everything with a fierce spirit, and Savannah knew she'd understand what it was like to feel as if the world was against you. The phone rang and a familiar, comforting voice answered. "Hey, sweetheart," Nanny Faye greeted, her voice warm but tinged with the sadness of recent events. "Nanny, have you seen the news?" Savannah asked, trying to keep her voice steady, though she could feel the crackling edge of her frustration. "Oh, honey, you bet I have," Nanny Faye replied, her tone shifting to one of determination. "Those people can say what they want, but we're not going down without a fight. I taught you better than that." Savannah nodded, even though her grandmother couldn't see her. "I'm so tired of them driving our family through the mud, Nanny. We've been through so much already. And now this, I just can't stand it. It's not fair." "Well, sugar," Nanny Faye said firmly, "there ain't much in life that's fair, but that doesn't mean we let it knock us down. You're a Chrisley, and we don't sit around and let people trample all over us." Her grandmother's words resonated deeply. Savannah felt a renewed sense of purpose, her anger sharpening into a fierce resolve. She thought about all the lessons she'd learned from her family: resilience, integrity, loyalty. And right now, it was loyalty that drove her. Her parents, her siblings, her grandmother, they all deserved justice, and Savannah was determined to be the one who would make it happen. "Nanny," Savannah said, her voice calm but resolute, "I think it's time we took things into our own hands. I'm not going to just sit around and let people think they can say whatever they want about us. I'm going to fight back." "Well, honey, I'll be right there beside you," Nanny Faye replied, her voice as strong as ever. With a plan forming in her mind, Savannah hung up the phone and immediately began organizing her thoughts. She wasn't just going to vent her frustrations online. She was going to start a movement, a platform for people like her family who had been misrepresented and mistreated by the media. She thought about the power of storytelling and truth-telling, and she decided she would find a way to share her family's side of things with the world. No filters, no manipulations. A few days later, Savannah sat in front of her computer, typing up a statement she planned to release. She'd crafted it carefully, every word chosen with precision and intention. She wasn't just defending her family, she was standing up for anyone who had been made to feel powerless against a system that seemed stacked against them. "To everyone out there who thinks they know my family, think again. We've been put through the ringer, yes, but we're stronger for it. This isn't just about the Chrisleys anymore. This is about justice, about truth, and about fighting back against the narrative that others have tried to force upon us. I'm not here to play nice or keep quiet. I'm here to fight for what's right." Savannah posted her statement, then sat back, feeling a mix of exhilaration and nerves. She knew this was just the beginning of a long road ahead. But she felt empowered for the first time in a long while, knowing that she was finally taking control of her story. As the hours passed, comments began flooding in. Many were supportive, fans who had been with the Chrisleys through thick and thin, but there were critics as well, voices that tried to undermine her, to drag her back down. But Savannah was unfazed. She had made her stand, and nothing was going to stop her now. In the weeks that followed, Savannah worked tirelessly to bring her vision to life. She held live sessions, talking to fans and sharing stories about her family that the world hadn't seen. She reached out to other families who had been through similar experiences, building a network of voices ready to stand up against injustice. She started a podcast, inviting guests who shared their struggles and triumphs, each story adding strength to her mission. And slowly but surely, Savannah's message began to resonate beyond her circle of loyal supporters. News outlets began picking up her story, and journalists reached out, wanting to know more. The media storm that once seemed so overwhelming had shifted, and now Savannah was holding the reins. One evening, as she sat in her makeshift studio, recording an episode of her podcast, Savannah felt a deep sense of peace. This fight wasn't just for her family anymore. It was for anyone who had ever felt their truth was ignored, their voice stifled. She knew there would still be challenges ahead, but she was no longer the same person who had felt powerless and trapped by the endless cycle of negativity. She was stronger, more determined, and ready for whatever came next. Her family had been through a lot, but Savannah was leading them into a new chapter, one where they would define their own narrative, stand up against the injustices they faced, and find their way back to each other through the strength of their love and resilience. And in that moment she knew this was just the beginning.